All right, so yesterday we spoke about concatenate, single rows and multiple row functions. And we said single row functions are functions that apply to a single row or that are applied to a single row and give a single result per row, or give a single row, a single result per row, right? That's single row functions. And we talk about multiple row functions where we said that these are applied to these functions are applied to multiple rows to be able to give you a single result. You apply them to multiple rows and they give you a single result. So yesterday we dwelt more on the single row functions, and we said single row functions are subdivided into different types, where we have character functions, numeric functions, and so on and so forth, right? And case conversion functions, right? So yesterday we started with character functions, and we talked about concatenate, substring, in-string, left pad and right pad. And yes, we said concatenation using the concat function is used to add or to join two or more rows to two or more columns together, and even you can even add a character literal, right, to that to make sense of what you are trying to do, right? And we saw several examples about that yesterday. Then we talked about the substring and in-string function, the substring and the in-string functions. And we said the substring is actually means subtract string, and in-string is saying that you're looking for a particular value or a particular alphabet in in a record or in a cell or in a data, right? So we talked about substring and we talked about in-string. Substring meaning that we can use the position of a particular data, the index position or in the index or the position of a particular set of data, to subtract a particular part of that data, right? So take, for example, you have a low word and you want to subtract or you want to get out a low from a low word, right? You use the index position of H to O to get that out, right? And we talked about in-string, which talks about the position of a particular character or letter or number in a particular character thereabouts in a particular value, right? So which columns or what is the position of A in the first name, right? We looked at that. Then we also looked at left pad and right pad. I said we use left pad and right pad to fill up spaces in the length that is given to a particular data type or a particular domain of a field, right? And we can left pad with any alphanumeric character or right pad with any alphanumeric character. So an example of that yesterday as well. We also talked about length, and length function helps us to know the length of a particular character, right? Then we talked about trim. We said trim helps us to trim out a particular set of character from a particular word and gives us the result as the remaining word after the trim has been done. We also talked about the upper and lower case function, and we said this helps us to convert. These are case conversion function, and they help us to convert from data from init cap to either uppercase or lowercase. Then we looked at numeric functions, right? Round and truncate. And of course, round is a mathematical function that helps us round a particular number to a particular precision or number of decimal place, right? And we talked about the dual table. And I said the dual table is a pseudo table or a table that is used for calculations and where dates are also retrieved from, right? Then we also talked about truncate. So truncate is the truncate function. Instead of rounding up values, deletes or yanks off, right? If there's any English like that, I'm sure that's an English word, right? Yank off. So you yank off, you can yank off the last two. When you say yank off, truncate this value to two decimal places. You're saying remove the last two decimal places, right? Or remove them instead of converting them to one and adding it to you understand the way round works, right? But truncate does not do that. It just deletes the values, right, and return what is left. Then we have mode, right? I said mode is actually called modulo, right? Mode is called modulo. Let me just edit this. Right, modulo. That's mode mode function, and we said this is some sort of a mathematical function that returns the remainder after a value is divided by another value, right? It returns the remainder after a value is divided. So today we want to go to multiple row functions. So yesterday what we dealt with was the single row functions, and today we want to look at multiple row functions, right? We want to look at multiple row functions. Now, to talk about multiple row functions, right? These functions are called multiple rows because what they do is group a set of data. Are you following me? These rows are called multiple rows because what they do is that they group data. Are you following me? They group data. That's what they do basically, right? That's what they do basically. They group data, and when they group data, they give you a single result, right? So I'll give you an example of this function. So we say an example is if I have say salary. Let's say there's a salary column, right? And I say there's somebody earning 5,000, somebody earns 10,000, somebody earns 20,000, another person maybe 2,000, right? And I say that I want to perform the average on the salary column. I want to know the average of the salary column. What happens? Because average is a multiple row function, right? Which takes multiple what? It takes multiple rows or applies to multiple rows and returns a single result, right? What does that mean? It means that this function would take all of this and what? Add them together and divide them by 5 and divide them by 4 and give us a value, right? And that means that for average, right, it takes all of this value and returns a single what? A single value. That is the essence of multiple row functions. So multiple row functions, right, apply to multiple rows and what? Returns a single value at the end of, as a result of that transaction, of that statement, right? So that is what they have. And we talked about and examples of multiple row functions are count, minimum, maximum, average, sum, right? Average, sum. These are a few examples that we're going to look at. Minimum, maximum, average, sum, and count, right? And it says multiple row functions are called groups, right? Also known as what? Aggregate functions. Now, what does that mean? Because these functions, right, they group a set of results or a set of rows together, right? Group a set of results together and return one single value for them. So therefore, we call them what? Group functions, right? Group functions or aggregate functions. That is, they aggregate. From the word aggregate, aggregate probably means to bring together, right? So you aggregate several rows together to give a single function. So basically, if you look at it, in essence, what single row function, I mean, what multiple row functions do is that they give you a summary. They give you a summary, right, of a summary about a set of values. About a set of values. Right? So the summary can be maybe count can be done using maybe the count function. My handwriting terrible today. Right? The count function or the average function, the minimum function, the maximum function, and which other one again? Which other one do we have there? Yeah, the sum function, right? The sum function, right? So these 5 functions and more, there's variance, there's standard deviations and all of that, right? They aggregate several rows together to give a single result. They aggregate several rows together to give a single result. That's basically what they are. That's basically what they are. So there's no plenty story about them. We just want to see a few of them in action. I want to see a few of them in action. So I'm just going to basically go into it, jump right into it. Please let me know if you can hear me. Please let me know if you can hear me. I hope I'm audible. Please let me know if you can hear me. Madam Anita, please unmute yourself to talk or to speak to me. John Lolade,
Yes,
please, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, ma. Welcome.
I just joined you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Did you hear everything I've said since?
No, I said I just joined.
Oh, you just joined now?
I just joined the class now. I on my system now. I quickly went to attend to something. So I'm just
okay.
Getting back to 6 now.
All right. Welcome. John
yes, I'm not seeing your I was seeing it just now, but I'm not seeing it right now.
Can you see it now?
It's on. Yes, I can see it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. So we want to go into using multiple row functions, right? So if you look at it, I talked about multiple row functions as aggregate functions or group functions that these functions apply to a set of rows and return a single row, right? As a result, they apply to a set of rows and return a single row as a result, right? So we want to begin to see examples of these functions. We want to begin to see examples of these functions, right? So now look at it. It says create a report of how many departments are in the company, right? So this is our first business case. Create a report of how many departments we have in the company, right? Create a report of how many departments we have in the company, right? Now, if you go through, we're going to run this statement in two different ways, right? And of course, I've told you how to work with how to work with business cases, right? For business case, you have to understand the business case before you begin to write your statements, right? So here we're saying create a report of how many departments you have in the company. So if you look at it, what you have here is how many departments, right? So in that way, how many will probably means or how many means unique departments. How many unique departments? That's basically what they're trying to say. How many unique departments? Departments now is a table we want to query. Departments table is a table we want to query. So how many departments do we have in the company, right? And to do that, we just say select count all. Select what? Count all, right? So I'm going to just say I want to run this statement in different ways so that we see. So I'm going to say copy. So we say select all without count, right? If we run select all from department, we want to see the result that we get. Fetching. Now, remember that select all will give us all the rows and all the columns in a particular table, right? All the rows and columns in a particular table. But that means that we know the number we can see the whole department's table, but it is not telling us in numbers. So is it that we begin to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and all that, counting like that, which is a bit stressful, right? So we can just bring in the count function, right? Count function. So we're wrapping the all wildcard in the count function to retrieve the total number. Now look at it. Remember that I said it's a multiple row function. So multiple row functions will take a set of rows and give us a single result. It applies to a set of rows and gives us a single result. So these are the rows that is going to apply to, of course, the department count of all the departments, right? So if we run this now, what do we have? Can you see? It says that what it does is that it counts all of them and gives a single result. So we have 27 unique departments in the company. We have 27 unique departments in the company. That is the function of count. That's the function of count, right? So if we say select, we want to know. So if we say write a business case, create a report of how many employees are in the company, right? As today, or as of today, right? How many employees are in the company as of today? Who's going to tell me? How do we write this now? Somebody, anybody? What do we write? Hello, anybody? John, what do we write? Anybody?
Yes, sir. You still use that syntax, select all.
Select
All.
Select all.
And then count.
Select count. It's not select all, it's select count all.
Okay, select count all.
From what table?
From the employees table.
Thank you. From the employees table. All right. Awesome. Right. So this will give us a total number of all the employees in the company. Can you see 107? So we have 27 departments and we have 107 employees shared across 27 departments. I hope you're following me. I hope you're following me. I hope we are following me, right? So if we say
Yes,
that,
sir.
now look at this business case. So generate a report of staffs who receive the least salary in the company. Generate a report of staffs who receives what? The least salary in the company. That is, who has the least salary in the company, right? Now, what are we doing? We're saying that, so we can say generate a report. So we say employee underscore ID, first name, last underscore name, right? Salary. Job ID. Right? So if we run this now, can you see?
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sorry.
The job ID and the employee ID, is it not the same?
Eh?
Job ID, employee ID. Okay.
No, they are not the same. Employee ID is different from job ID.
Okay, okay.
Right. So we want to know the minimum salary in the company, right? So we say, look at it though. It says generate a report of the staff who receives the least salary in the company. So the question is, what is the least salary in the company, right? So that's the first question. So if we run that, right, we know that the least salary in the company is 2,100. Can you see? That's the minimum salary. That's the least salary, the lowest salary in the company, right? So if we know that the lowest salary is 2,100, so we want to know which employee receives the salary. So we say select all from where? From employees where salary equals 2,100, right? Select all from employees where salary equals 2,100, right? So we see that the person receiving that is TJ Olsen, right? And he's a stock clerk. This is his phone number. This is his email address, hire date, salary. He does not receive commission percentage. His manager is 121. Manager 121 is in department 50, right? So that is although there's a better way to actually write this query instead of writing one single. Instead of writing two different queries, right, we can actually answer this query in one single query. I mean, I'm going to show that's what we have in the next topic after this topic, or no, the next two topic after this topic, right? But basically, we have answered that question. Generate a report of the staff who receives the least salary in the company. We first of all determine what is the minimum salary, right? And this function minimum takes every data, every salary in the company and looks through to get the lowest value, right? That is, it aggregates all the salaries of everybody in the company and gets the lowest value and returns that as a result for us. So if we want to know the inverse, the opposite of that, right? What do we say? We want to know who receives the highest salary in the company. So we say select maximum, right? Select maximum salary from employees, right? This will tell us the person with the largest It will tell us the largest salary. So 24. So if 24,000 is the largest salary in the company, who receives this salary? Who receives this salary? So we say select off from employees where salary equals what 24,000, right? And this will tell us who is the person that receives that. So the person who receives that is employee 100, whose name is Stephen King. His email is sking. That's his hire date and phone number. Is the admin president. Salary is 24,000, and he does not receive commission percentage. Neither does he have a manager, and he's in department 90. Right? I hope we understand that. Right? Are we there? Are we there? Now it says generate a report of all of the staff. Generate a report. Okay, let me rewrite this. Just give me a minute. Let me rewrite this. Generate a report of the lowest, highest, average, and sum of salary in the company. Generate a report of the lowest, highest, average, and sum of salaries in the company, right? So what do we do, right? We use aggregate function. So select minimum here is an aggregate function. We call that list. Maximum is the highest salary. Maximum salary is also an aggregate function. We call that the highest. Average is the average salary. We'll call that average. Let's call that average. Right? And sum salary. Or that's total. Right? From employees. So this will give us all. Can you see? The least salary is 21,000. The highest salary is 24,000. The least salary is 2,100 or 2,100. Right? Then the highest salary is 24,000. We have the average salary is 6,461.82, and the total salary that is paid every month is $691,400, right? So this is a summary. And remember, I said that group functions helps us to give us data in forms of summary, right? So these are group functions, and if you look at it, what it does is that it got the list, right, from the salary column by looking through multiples of what, of salaries, right, of about 107 employees, and returned a single row for that. It did the same thing for maximum. Looked through 107 rows and returned a single value, right? And average is that it summed up all the salaries of everybody of 107 employees and divided that by the frequency, which is 107, and it got to what? It got to 6461.68. So which, and the total is 691,400. So if you divide 691,400 by 107, what you would get is 6,461.68, right? So basically, that is what we have that's what we have under multiple row functions, right? Now, multiple row functions therefore takes us to the next thing I want to talk about. It says grouping data in SQL, right? We use the group by clause. The group by clause is used to group data, right? We use the group by clause to group what? Data in SQL, right? So what does that mean? It means that I want to group a set of data, right? Now, if you look at it, what we've been doing so far is that we've been able to check the minimum salary, the maximum salary, the average salary, and the total salary for for the whole company, right? For all the employees in the company, right? For the whole company. But now we want to look at the minimum salary. We want to group this data, right? We want to group this data and not just say, like we did yesterday, right? Yesterday, we were able to sort data and use another sort to sort the general data and use another column to sort the data based on on some groups, right? So we want to go ahead with that again today and group this data based on
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Please, the one you just did, the maximum, minimum, and is that a multiple?
Yes, those are multiple row functions. Yes, multiple row functions. Yes.
Okay, those are multiple. Okay, this one you are doing now, the one you are saying order by.
Group by.
This last one, group by, yeah.
Group by. There's order by. We've talked about order by, which is to sort your data from ascending to the or descending form. That's order by. This is group by.
Order by, yeah. Group by. Okay. Okay. Is it the same thing with the multiple row function?
We use group by with multiple row functions. You'll see it. Don't worry. You'll see it now. You'll see it while I explain. All right. So now I want to use a practical example to show you what that does. I'm going to run it, then we'll look at it. It says generate a report of the minimum, maximum, average, and some salary for each department. Right? So the one we did earlier was for the whole company. For this time around, we want to generate for each department. What's the minimum salary in accounting? What's the minimum salary in accounting? What is the sum of salary for everybody in accounting? I want to do that for each of the departments, right? Now, that is where grouping comes in. Now, I must say to you, anytime you use a multiple row functions, right, or an aggregate function, right? Anytime you use an aggregate function, right, you can use the group by to group the data, right? The group by would help you divide it. So you need to be able to identify a column that has division inside of it, right? Division. If you go into division now, is that has segmentations, right? Right. Not division now. A column that has segmentations, right, inside of it. So take, for example, you want to know the total age of males in the country. You want to know the total age of females, or the average age of a male and the average age of a female, right? Of course, there's a gender column that carries both male and female, right? There's a gender column. Let me show you. This is what I mean, right? So, right, so you have a column called the gender or sex, right? Gender column that has male, female, male, female, female, and then female, right? Now, this column, right, if you remember in R programming, for those who have done R programming with me, right, you remember that this kind of column, right, what you add to it is a factor column. You convert it to a factor column, right? And with factor, you are able to see segmentations, right? You are able to see segmentations or the segments in which this data is divided into, right? And factors will help you see what we call levels, right? Those segments are what we call levels, right? These segments are what we call levels. So in this situation now, what you have is male as one level and female as another level. So what that means that you can do a summary on each of these columns or each of these segments and say how many male, how many female, right? Here we have 2 females and we have what? 2 males and 4 females, right? Now, that's the same thing that we want to do with group by. So when you say you perform a factor, right, in SQL, basically what we use for that is a group by, right? We use a group by. Are you following me? And group by would help us look at a particular column. So there must be a column that we are grouping by, right? A column that we are grouping by. And what that does is that group by goes into that column. So say gender column, right? Goes into gender column and identifies the number of segmentations or levels that are in that column, right? And when he understands that, okay, in this column, I have male and I have female, then it does a report on each of those segments. It does a report on each of those segments. And I'm going to show you that in this example. I'm going to show you that in this example. Sorry about that. That is our programming. Sorry about that. Now, it says that, look at it. Generate a report of the minimum, maximum, and average, the minimum, maximum, average, and sum salary for each department in the company. So, which means that if you look at it, we remember that we did an analysis some minutes ago that says that we have 27 departments in the company, right? So for each of those departments, we want to know their minimum, their maximum salary, want to know the average and the sum salary for each of those departments, right? The initial one that we did was that we did for the whole employees table, right? But this time around, we want to divide it based on what department, and that's where group by comes in. So let me show you the statement that would give us the solution to that. So look at it. It says select department ID, right? Department ID, manager ID. So I want to see the manager of each of those departments. So department ID, the manager ID, right? Department ID, right? Let's say department. We're sure of the departments themselves. So department underscore name, right? Then we say manager ID, manager ID, minimum salary, maximum salary, average salary, and what? Sum salary. Sum salary. From what? From the employees table. Group by department ID. What does that mean? Check for each department. That's basically what it means. So if we run this now, oh, sorry. There's no department name in. Sorry. Right. So let's run this again. So, right. Can you see? So for departments 10, right? Departments 10, of course, because we are creating the employees table, right? We cannot know that. But let me just do something real quick. So I want to show you the departments. I want to add the department name to that statement so that we know the department. All right, so I'm just going to say department. Department underscore name. right? From employees join department using department underscore ID. Don't worry about this. We're going to talk about this very soon. Using department ID. Group by. Oh, sorry. Okay, hold on, just give me a minute. E dot department ID. D dots. Just hold on. D dots. D dots. Just trying to try something here. Is it on? On E dot department ID equals D dots department underscore ID group by. Awesome. Right. Awesome. Now, if you look at it, right? If you look at it, what we have is that it gives us a result of each. Don't worry about the join statement. What I did there was join two tables together. Hello? IBK.
I'm lost.
Don't worry about it. Just follow me. Just follow what I'm doing. Don't worry about all the E's and all of that. Don't worry about all the E's. I'm just trying to show something, right? Just don't worry about those ones, right? Nobody knows that in this class yet, so don't worry about it. I was just trying to write something, right? Now, right. So forget about these E dots, these D dots. Just forget about it, right? Just these E dots, this E. Forget about it. This D dot, and equals to, and on, and E. Just forget about that. What I want you to concentrate on is the select department ID, department name, manager ID, minimum salary, maximum salary, average salary, and some salary from employees, right? Group by department ID. Now, what we are trying to do, right? What we were trying to do initially is to I think I have complicated things for everybody. Okay, let me rewrite the statement so that we understand. So we say select. Hold on, let me reverse back to the original statement that we have. All right, so I'm just going to remove all these guys. I'm going to remove this guy. The reason why I wrote that was to bring in the department's name, right? But don't let me complicate it. So let's remove this guy. Let's remove all of this guy. And let's just make it simple. All right. So let's go back to the business case. So the business case wants us to generate a report of the minimum, maximum, average, and some salary for each department in the company. So we want to know the minimum salary in each company and in each department, the maximum salary, the average salary and some salary in each department of the company, right? So we say select department ID, manager ID, minimum salary. That's minimum there is the group function or the aggregate function. Maximum is an aggregate function. Average is an aggregate function there, and sum is an aggregate function, right? Let's bring this in very well. All right. Awesome, right? So now, when we do this, if I remove this group by, let me cut to this. If I remove that group by, right, the aggregate functions, can you see? It does for now what it does there is that it does for just one single department, right? But we want it to do for all the departments. So I'm going to group these results by this. So let me show you an example of what we are saying, right? What we are saying is that the database, right, the employees table, contains the department ID column that has, let's say, employee ID, first name, and department ID. So we have we have 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, right? And we have A, B, C, D, E, F, right? And A is in department 10, B is in department 40, C is in department 30, D is in department 40, F is in E is in department 40, and F is in department 10, right? So what does that mean, right? So when we say we want to group, when you say you are, first of all, when you apply an aggregate function, right? We said an aggregate function is also what? A multiple row function, right? So aggregate function, right? What does that do? That would aggregate from the word aggregate, it will bring together. So what does that do? It brings, so if I say average, so if you apply any aggregate function, right, it groups your data together. So it brings the 10s together, it brings the 40s together and the 30s together, right? So which means that it will now do 10. Remember that 10 has 2 rows, but it will give us one single result for that. 40 has 4 rows, sorry, right? It will give us a single result for that column, and 30 is just represented as 1. It gives us a single result for that column. That is how to aggregate. Now, having aggregates, right, the best way to aggregate, right, after applying a multiple row function is to use the group by clause. Now, this aggregation that I've splitted this data is actually done by this group by clause, right? Now, the group by clause would be applied on a column that has levels of factors, right, that can group the data together this way, right? And that is what we want to see in this situation. So what you have is that when you run this now, it gives you a result per column, or a result per department. So department 10, the manager is, look at it. This department does not have a name, it does not have an ID yet, but the manager is 149. The minimum salary there is 7,000. The maximum salary there is 7,000. The average salary there is 7,000, and the sum salary there is 7,000. What does that tell us? It means that there is just one person in this department. Are you following me? In this department, the department has no number yet. That department is just as one person, because the numbers are consistent: minimum, maximum, average, and sum. Right? Now let's look at department 10. Right? Department 10 is 101. Right? The minimum salary is 4,400. The maximum salary is 4,400. The average salary is 4,400, and the sum salary is 4,400. Same condition as department 1, as the first department. It means that there's just one person in this department, right? But let us look at department 20. Department 20's manager ID is 100. Their minimum salary is 6,000, but their maximum salary is 1,003. The average salary is 9,500, and the sum salary is what? Is 19,000. So what does that mean? It means that there are multiple people in this department, but it gives us a single result for each of what? For each of the criteria of the group functions that we use, right? of the aggregate functions or the group functions or the multiple row functions that we used, right? So we have for departments 10, departments 20, departments 30, departments 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, and 110, right? And that is because we are grouping the results by department ID. We are grouping the results by department ID. Now, let's say that we want to do this business case. Generate a report of.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Please, sir. This group by department ID. Does that mean that we can use any other column,
Yes.
like first name?
You
You
can
can
use.
say group by first name, last name.
Now, if you group by last name, right? Yes, you can actually group by last name, right? It syntax wise, it is correct, right? Syntax wise, it is correct. But the question you want to ask yourself is that is there a group? Is there a factor level? Are there factor levels in your or a grouping level in that column? Are you following me? Is there grouping in that column? Now, what that means is that your last name column or your first name column, there is no grouping, right? Because you cannot say you want, unless you want to say you want to know all the salary of, you want to know the total salary of everybody bearing Anita. And it could just be one person bearing Anita in your company, right? So in that column, right, it is possible that you have some names that are probably on that on your first name column or last name column that is only one person that bears them, right? And you have multiple variations of data in that column. You have 107 people in the company, but 106 of the data in that column are unique to each person, right? This person's name is Sheon, and that person's name is Lola, and that person's name is Adita. So there is no grouping on that column. The column that you want to use in your group by must have an element of grouping inside of it, right? And on this database, take for example, what you have is the grouping is in department ID. Now, let me give you a proper example, right? So you want to say you work for ShopRite, right? Or you are analyzing data from ShopRite, and ShopRite has products, right? And these products have categories, right? You want to say from the sales from last week, I want to see the minimum sales and the maximum sales, or the number of sales or total sales for each category, right? So you're now saying you want to know the category for bakery, you want to know the category for pastries, you want to know the category for groceries, you want to know the categories of electronics, right? All of those are grouping. Inside pastry, you have cake, you have cinnamon roll, you have all of that. In your bakery, you have bread, you have all of that. In electronics, you have phones, but you are aggregating all of them. You have aggregated all of them and called them electronics, pastry, and bakery, right? So you want to know the total amount of sales that was made in the bakery section. You want to know the total amount of sales in the pastry section. You want to know the total amount of sales made in the electronic sections, right? That is a grouping. So you are looking for the column where that grouping occurs. It is that column that you use in your group by clause. Are you following me? Right? So maybe you work in a bank. Maybe you work in a bank and you want to do a grouping. So you want to say maybe you are at the headquarters of Access Bank or GTB or whatever bank, or maybe Citibank or Goldman Sachs or whatever bank, right? And you want to say you want to know you have 10 branches. You want to know the sales for the total sales last month or the total profit made by each bank for last month, right? Of course, you are going to have to group them based on their locations, right? So there will probably be a column that groups by location, right? All the banks in Lagos, all the banks in Ibadan, all the banks in Oyo State, all the banks in. Do you understand? So that column is what you are going to use in your group by clause, not a column that has a rapid change of data, right? Where the data inside of it are not in any form of grouping. You don't use that kind of column. Are you following me?
Yes, sir. It's clear. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yes, I do.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Now I want to do a business case. So generate a report of the total number of employees in each department. Can you see? Total number of employees in each department. Total number of employees in each department. How do we do this? Who can guess? So select, right? Select department underscore ID. Department underscore ID and count all, right, from employees, group by department underscore ID. Now, this group by would not work. This group by clause here would not work if there is no group function. I'll say that again. The group by clause would not work if there is no group function, because there is nothing that it is grouping by, that is applying to, there is no multiple row function that is applying to the rows that it will make it group by. Are you following me? So group by, there must be, what that means is that there must be a multiple row function or group function before you can use a group by clause, right? There must be a group function before, or an aggregate function before you use a group by clause, right? So if I run this now, this would, can you see now? So for each department, we're able to count the number of people in each department. Can you see? In department none, right? Department that had no name, we have just one person. Department 10, we have just one person. Department 20, we have 2. In department 30, we have 6. 40, we have 1. 50, we have 45 people. 60, we have 5. 70, we have 1. 80, we have 34 people. 90, we have 3. And department 100, we have 6. And department 101, we have 2 persons, right? So what we have done is that we aggregated using this aggregate function. And because we have aggregated the data, now what we are saying is that this department, this group by what? Will group all the departments together and it will do a count. So you are saying all, so it's like you called every employees out and you say all finance department, move to this side. All sales department, move to this side. All marketing, move to this side. Or you count all of you, count yourself in each of your departments and give me a total. That is what you just did. Are you following me? So, but the way we write it, this group by will not amount to nothing, or will amount to nothing if this function, if a aggregate function or a multiple row function does not apply or is not in use, right? So there must be an aggregate function or a group function before you use the group by clause, right? So that is group by, right? That is group by, right? I'm just going to leave this here so that we'll talk about this much later. What I just did was that because I wanted to bring in the department name, right? I had to do plenty, all of this before it shows up. Now, look at this statement, right? Having seen how to use the group function or the aggregate function, minimum, maximum, sum, and what? Count, right? We can now begin to use, we now want to do something, right? Now, here, this statement gave us a result of 12 rows, right? This statement gave us a result of what? 12 rows. Gave us a result of 12 rows. But how do we do a restriction? How do we do a restriction? How do we so say I do not want to see all the what? All the department. I don't want to see count of all the departments because there are some department that have just one person. So I don't want to see all those departments. I only want to see some department that has maybe numbers above, whose numbers are above 10, right? I want to see department that has people greater than 10. That has a total number of people greater than 10 in their department. How do I do that? Of course, you know that in restricting, we use the where clause, right? You want to say, so where department, where count number is greater than 10, right? But this time around, we want to see if where clause will work or not. If the where clause will work or not, right? So an example of that is say, generate a report of the minimum, maximum, and average for each department in the company. For all departments that has their average salary, can you see? That has their average salary to be above 5,000. So we want to generate the minimum, maximum, average for each department, but only return the department that meets the condition that their average salary is above what 5,000. So what happens? We want to do a restriction in that place, right? Now it says to restrict a select query that has a group by function, right, or an aggregate function. The where clause cannot be used. Hence, we use the having, right? Where is used for the where clause is used for single rows, right? But when you group data together, right, you say that the data that you have grouped together, you group them because they have a common interest. The common interest in this situation is that we are grouping by department, people in the same department. We don't care if they are friends or not. As long as they are the same department, we are grouping them together. When you say you have a group, you don't say where the group has something. No, the group, it is a group in lexicon for English, that is in the structural syntax for English, right? You don't tell a group and say this where this group has something. No, because they are a group, they have something in common. So to refer to you, or when you want to refer to them, say having these characteristics. So I'm grouping these people because they have these characteristics. That's what you're saying. I've told you that SQL and English language, SQL is created after English language, right? So having is the word that we use to restrict. Anytime you see a group function or a group function and aggregate function, and there's a group by clause, we do not restrict it with where clause. We restrict with having. But do not be shocked where actually works now, because we're in a different dialect of SQL. But trust me, having is what you want to do. Now look at it. So let's go back to that statement that we want to do, right? So it says generate a report of minimum, maximum, and average for each department in the company, for all the departments that has their average salary of above what? That has average salary of above 5,000, right? So we say select department ID, manager ID, minimum salary, maximum salary, and average salary from employees. Group by, can you see department ID? Now we say having what? Having average salary that is greater than what? 5,000. If you run this now, you should get a beautiful result, right? You see, it has restricted the solution or the result to what? To 9 quotes, to 9 columns. I mean, to 9 rows, right? I'm going to let me remove this having clause, right? And we'll run that so that you see. So let me just cut that out, right? Let's run this now and see the result, right? So what we have is 12 rows returned, right? All of these are minimum, maximum, and all of that. But so you have 12 rows returned in the initial statement. But when we restrict it using having clause, and the condition is that average salary is what? Is greater than 5,000. What happens? It reduces from 12 to 9 rows. Can you see? Only 9 rows, only 9 departments meet this condition that their average salary is greater than what? 5,000. Are you following me? Now I want to do something, right? I'm just going to insert where there easily, right? Can you see? You see that where did not work. Can you see? Where average salary equals where average salary greater than 5,000, right? Can you see that it gave an error? And that is because we do not use, can you see? It says where is not valid at this position. Can you see? That's the error. Where is not valid at this position. So what do? We don't use where clause for group functions. We use the having clause, right? We use the having clause. We use the having clause. We use the having clause. We use the having clause to do that. So you can talk about having minimum salary greater than 5,000, having maximum salary greater than 5,000. You can use any of your that to do the report, right? Now we've talked about this. Let's create a report of how many employees are in each department. We've done this up here, right? We did this up here. Where is it? All right, yeah, we did it up here. Generate a report of total number of employees in each department. So we've done that, right? Please let me know if you understood what we have discussed before I proceed. Please let me know. If you are lost, let me know. Let me know. Let me know. And so you can see here what we are doing is that we're now restricting, right? Having generate a report of how many employees are in each department, and you want to see generate a report of department that has more than 10 employees, right? Want to see the department, generate a report of department that has more than 10 employees. So you say department ID, count all from employees, group by what? Department ID, having a count all greater than what? 10, right? So we're saying that you only want to see departments that have more than 10 people, right? And it tells you that what? They're just two departments, department 50 and department 80. Department 50 has 45, department 80 has 34 people in total. Please let me know if you understood all that I've explained before we move to the next chapter. We finished chapter 8 basically. We're moving to chapter 9, right? We finished chapter 8 basically. We're moving to chapter 9. So please let me know if you understood what I just explained. Let me know. Wow. Today we have fewer people in class, and I don't know why. Fewer people in class. I need your advice. Do you think we should continue as there are very few people in class, or we should wait for people? Maybe stop the class. We'll finish chapter 9 basically, right? And it's recorded. So, but I'm thinking that this one that people did not show up today. Maybe we should not go too much. Or what do you think? I just need your suggestion here. Please let me know. Help me out here. Madam Anita, IBK, John, help me out here. Should we continue? I don't know why people didn't join so much today. We have a whole lot of people missing in class. So, and we're in. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you, ma'am.
You can continue. Maybe you stop by 6 so that we can start from there. The next class, since a lot of people are not in class today, so they don't mix.
Yeah, okay. Because we've actually finished chapter 9 now, right? I'm supposed to start. Can you see? I'm supposed to start chapter 10. I mean, we finished chapter 8. I'm supposed to start chapter 9.
8.
Yeah, and chapter 9 is one of the technical part of SQL that people usually have issues with, which is the joining part, joining two tables together, right? And joining two or multiples together, right? That part is usually very technical, and people usually have issues with it. And I don't want anybody to miss this. That's why I am asking. Right? That's why I'm asking. After joining, we're moving to subqueries. Yeah, we're moving to subqueries. After subqueries, we're moving into chapter 11. Yep, which is data, the conclusion of data manipulation language, where we begin to insert, update, and delete. And that leads us to the last chapter, which is chapter 12, where we talk about transactional statement, Talk about transactional statements, such as rollback, commits, and all of that. So that is why I'm saying that do we take a break from it so that people don't miss out on we ask questions and solve questions on what we have learned today in the group function class. I'm still waiting to hear from Anita, from IBK and John.
Yeah, so I think that if you are done with chapter 8, you shouldn't start chapter 9 without others.
Okay.
Yeah, so since you already mentioned that it's kind of technical, so
Yeah,
that
it is technical, and I want everybody to get it once
answer,
and for
yeah, so that everybody is together and everybody follows through together.
all. Okay, thank you. John, can I hear from you, please?
I think we can also wait for others, probably next class.
Okay, okay. All right, all right. But so far today, thank you. So far, do you have any question? Do we understand all that we explained today, or all that we've done today? And if you have questions, please let me know. Let's so that we can take those questions now and then wrap class up now. And please help me drop it on the group after class that we stopped class because of them. So they should not take us for granted going forward, right? Please, we can, as much as we are being nice, right? We cannot also be waiting for people all the time, right? But I noticed that a few people tried to join a couple of times and they logged out. So it could be network or something that is affecting them joining the class, right? That is why I'm trying to consider that, right? I think I noticed a few people joining class and leaving class, and yeah, so that is why, right? That's why I actually brought that up, right? So please, once you are done with class, please just drop it on the group to say that we actually stopped class because of them, so that they know that we were considering them and we would not do that for next class, even if they do not join. We have given them a fair warning and a notification. Awesome. So any questions so far? We've talked about group functions. We've talked about group functions or aggregate functions or multiple row functions. And we talked about the fact that when you apply them to your select statement, on a column your select statement, what you get is that they aggregate the rows in a particular column and give you a single result per that row set, right? And we said that when you use these functions, right, what we have to do is that we add a group function, a group by clause to them that helps us group them, right? That helps us group them. So is it that it looks at the table as a single entity, or it begins to break the table further into into multiple entities? That is the group by clause. Let me show you, right? So this is what we're saying, that when you have a table, right? When you have a table and you use a group function like or remember group function or aggregate function or multiple row functions, they are the same, right? Right? Or multiple row functions. When we apply them, examples are sum, minimum, maximum, average, count, right? When we apply them to the group, right? When we apply them to a particular table, right? Now, what happens? It either looks as a table as a single entity, right, and gives us a result per what? Per all the columns, right? Gives us a result per columns, or it breaks the what? It breaks the table into what? Into multiple groups. And how does it break the table into multiple groups? When you use what? When you apply the group by clause, right? The multiple functions, the multiple row functions or group by functions, or the group functions, looks at the whole table as a single entity and gives you a single result per column on the table, right? Now, but once you apply what the group by clause, right? The function of the group by clause is that it segments the table into several what components, right? Using a particular clause or a particular column as that matrix. So in that case now we use an example of department ID. The department ID breaks the table into departments 10, departments 20, departments 30, and departments 40, right? But before we introduce the group by clause, right, it looks at everybody as an employee in the company. So if you are an employee in the company and you have a salary, we can easily get your minimum salary, That is the minimum salary in the whole company, the maximum salary in the whole company, right? The count of employees in the whole company, the sum of salary in the whole company, right? But if we apply the group by clause, what happens? The group by clause now segments the table into multiple segments and begins to give us what? Results per this segment, right? So that is what we looked at today. That's what we looked at today. And I think we'll stop here so that we do not jump. I am really, really concerned, especially by the next chapter that we want to talk about, right? And I do not want to, when we see, okay, so basically, right, this is what I'm actually running from, right? I wrote a statement the other time, and that's actually what I wanted to explain. And I know that I've not even explained when somebody said that they are lost just by saying it, right? Somebody mentioned that, Oga, me, I'm lost in this thing you are talking about, right? Let me just show you the statement, right? Awesome. This is what I was talking about, right? So here I just wrote a simple joining statement, a simple join statement here, and it looked as if I'm writing Greek, right? And this is the next topic what we're going to. I do not want anybody to miss this, right? So that is why I have to ask us about should we stop the class here so that we can have everybody join us for this topic next class, right? Yeah, have everybody join us for this class, right? This is joining. Joining is a major part in SQL statement or in SQL as it regards retrieving data from the database, and we do not have enough people in class today. And I see a few people coming in and going out. I'm sure it is probably network or something that is affecting them, right? But I need to prepare people's mind for this. That is why. And we all agreed that we should stop class today. But if you have questions so far, please just let me know. Please let me know. If you have questions so far, please let me know. Hopefully by next weekend, the career talk that we have, I'm bringing a professional. I'm inviting a professional, somebody with experience, somebody with a good career in tech to come and speak to us, right? Of course, some of my friends. I don't want to just be the only one to talk to you about these things, right? And it's one thing to actually get a skill, it's another thing to understand and see people who have done it so that you get excited and you see the possibilities of what is you see the possibilities of what is possible for you, right? So last time I brought a lady the last time to talk to the first cohort, and her name is Okwe, and Okwe now is she used to work for she's a awesome developer, right? And she makes use of SQL every day. I'll probably look for the video and share it again so that we can probably just cut out the part where she spoke and just share it with us so that we can learn from what she said. Okwe is young. She's I'm sure she's still maybe in her 20s. She should be about highest maybe 25 years, right? And Okwe is one of the leading female developers in Nigeria. I'm saying that no cap, right? She's one of the leading female developers in Nigeria. She's so good. She writes Java, she writes C, she writes several languages, right? And she even told me that she's trying to venture into machine learning, right? And yeah, and she spoke with about her experience with SQL, about her experience in tech, how she joined tech, how it has been. And before she left the company where she's working presently, she was she's one of the biggest. She was one of the developers of the biggest legal application in Nigeria, right? Lola is on this call or is in this class. I'm not sure if she's familiar with, but I'm sure she'll be familiar with it since she's a lawyer. Law Pavilion, right? Right, Law Pavilion, right? Lola, are you there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Do you know Law Pavilion?
Yeah, we all use Law Pavilion.
What do you say?
Yes, we all use Law Pavilion. Yeah.
Oh, you say we all. All right. Yeah. So, what is it?
Except
What
you
is it?
want to go to the library. That's the best way to look up things, except you want to go to the library. Nobody goes to the library.
Yeah. My wife actually works with Law Pavilion, right? She's a product manager and the head of communications for Law Pavilion. My wife, right? And Okwe is one of our developers, and I met Okwe through her, and it's been a good relationship with her. Now, what am I trying to say? Okwe is one of the developers that developed Prime. If you know Prime as a product, right? Prime as a product, one of the offerings of Law Pavilion. It's probably the biggest law enterprise tool in Africa, right? Okwe is the sole proprietor of that product. She developed that product, right? Just a female, right? And today, Okwe is no longer with Law Pavilion, right? Because of how beautiful her skills are. She works with a firm now in Canada, even though remote. She's still in Nigeria, but she works remotely as a developer for a firm in Canada, right? You see, she joined them. I think she joined them about 3 months ago, sure about, right? And that is what is possible for everybody, right? That's what is possible for everybody if you take this to us. So I'm going to be bringing somebody else. I'll try and, like I said, I'll try and look for that video again and cut it out and just drop it on the group for us to see. And for this time around, I'm bringing somebody else to come and talk to us and inspire us into technology. Really and truly, this is the field of the future, right? And I want us to take it as serious as possible. So, thank you for coming to class today. Apologies once again. Please, I want you to go and use anger to go and talk to people on the group why they didn't show up for class today. They are the ones who have stopped us. We're on a good time presently. We're supposed to move to joining, but joining is a topic that I have in my 14 years of experience of teaching SQL. Joining is one of the major challenge that people usually have in SQL. So joining is the major challenge. Can you see Lola2 is just going and coming? I'm sure it's network, right? I'm sure it's the network. But next class would have a proper class where we'll discuss all of these topics more. So, any question before we wrap up today?
Please, sir, yesterday's video, can you drop it?
Yes, I have the videos already. I've downloaded that yesterday. I just wanted to download today's video once we're done and drop both of them so that we can have them. Yes. Yesterday's video is ready. It's ready already. Let me show you. As you can see my screen, let me show you. This is yesterday's video, right? This is yesterday's video. So I'm going to be dropping both of them today. I'm going to be dropping both of them once class is done and upload the link to us so that we can have them and digest them. Please, my assignments, don't forget, please attempt all of those questions. I'm going to be dropping questions on the topics that we did yesterday and today as well, so that we can stay grinded, in this topic. So, any other thing? Any other thing to talk about? Any other thing? If there is none, I think we can wrap up today's class at this juncture. Anything? Anybody? All right. Madam Anita, are you trying to talk to us? Hello, is she there? All right. Thank you everybody for coming to class. So that we don't take much of your time. Please help me drop that WhatsApp message. I mean the message on the WhatsApp group to tell people that we are not happy that they did not show up to class today. Right? Thank you for coming, everybody. Do have a blessed week. I love you. Peace to you and your family. IBK, today is a good day for us to install your distance. So reach out to me. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, ma.